Two musicians can look at the exact same chord chart. One of them feels calm, oriented, and ready to play. The other one feels overwhelmed, lost, and behind before the first chorus even starts. What's the difference? It's not sight reading, it's not jazz theory, it's not even technique. It's how quickly they can process the tune. In this video, I'm going to show you a fast, practical way to understand any jazz standard before you play a single note. By the end, you'll have a simple mental checklist you can use on any chart at a jam session or on a gig in your practice room. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Jazz Improv Institute. My name is Shannon Gunn, and I try to make jazz really easy to understand for classical musicians and adult learners. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you can see whenever we post a new video. The first thing I want you to do is to become familiar with the key of the tune. Now, this might be a little harder than it seems. First and foremost, jazz tunes do not stay in one key, okay? They almost always move to different keys. So how do you know what key you're in? So the first marker I would always look at is what is the last chord or what is the last cadence. Now the word cadence is very important here. It indicates the ending of a phrase. And sometimes jazz standards have a cadence and then what's called a turnaround. A turnaround is a series of chords that are moving forward with a certain harmonic motion, a lot of times back to the beginning. So for example, Honeysuckle Rose. It has a cadence on the F chord 2 bars from the end. Then it has a B flat 7 followed by an A minor 7 to a D7. So the A minor 7 to the D7 is a 2-5 in the key of G. So it is not the key of the tune, it's a turnaround, okay? A lot of times a turnaround is like a 3-6-2-5 or just a 2-5. So the ending of Honeysuckle Rose, it has a final cadence on F, then it goes to the 4 chord, then it does a 2-5 in G minor going back to the beginning in G minor. So that's very common in jazz. So for example, look at Stella by Starlight. It starts on an E minor 7 flat 5, but it ends on a B flat major 7 chord. So Stella is considered to be in the key of B flat, but it goes through a whole bunch of different keys on its way there. And so the key signature is helpful. It's helpful if you want to make sure everybody's in the same key and everybody's playing together. But in jazz, we know from the outset that this is going to change, and it doesn't ever stay in one key for the whole song. The second thing I want you to be aware of is the form of the tune. So in jazz, you become very adept at being able to look at a tune and quickly recognize the sections of the tune, and they're often in sections of 8 bars, and there's a couple of forms or a couple of containers that a lot of jazz songs are written in. For example, there's the 32 bar form, which is typically AABA, which means 8 measures of A, 8 measures of A, 8 measures of a B section, which is different, back to 8 measures of the A section. For example, Honeysuckle Rose is a 32 AABA 32 bar form. Now, notice though, every time you have a repeating section, for example, in Honeysuckle Rose, the first ending is different from the second ending. That's an indication of the turnarounds. The first ending has turnarounds, the second ending just resolves to tonic. So that's an example of 32 bar form. Then you might also have something that's a blues. And the blues is normally 12 bars, and it normally goes to the 4 chord in the 5th bar. Those are 2 markers of the blues. Everything else is up for negotiation. And even if you don't see turnarounds written in, for example, 3-6-2-5, the people on the bandstand might throw that in there at the end just because they want to, or just because it makes it more interesting and it's harmonically moving in that direction back to the beginning, okay? So the overall form is defined by the harmonic structure, and you quickly learn to recognize repeated sections. The third thing you learn to recognize are the 2/5s. And so what you're going to do is you're going to see if there's ever any two chords in a row that are a fourth apart. Whether it's a minor chord to a dominant chord or a dominant chord to a dominant chord. If it's a fourth apart and it goes to a dominant chord, that's probably some sort of 2/5. And the 2/5 is an indication of tonality. It's the second scale degree chord diatonically and the fifth scale degree chord diatonically. So when you're learning a new jazz song, you learn to recognize the 2/5s really quickly so that you can see very quickly what the tonal centers are of the tune. And then you learn to sort of speak that as a language. People will say, okay, well, we're going to do, let's call On Green Dolphin Street. And then you'll immediately know, okay, this is going to be starting on whatever is the tonic, and then it's going to go through a series of tonal centers back to the tonic as you play with a very similar 32 bar form. Now, On Green Dolphin Street is like A, B, and then C. It has a different last 8 bars. So I hope that's helpful. And so you want to start recognizing 2/5s really quickly. So I created a little checklist for you, and please feel free to download that from my website. And I also have a few videos up on analyzing tunes, and I'm going to be putting up more tunes as well. So that will help you sort of see the tonal centers as they change throughout the songs. And then also remember, just look at the last measure or last 2 measures of the song, see if it's a cadence or a turnaround, knock out the turnarounds, and that is your tonal center. All right, I hope this is helpful. Happy practicing. I hope that was really helpful for you. I'm very thankful for everybody listening and watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell, turn on notifications. Please consider joining the Jazz Improv Institute community. Happy practicing.